Firstly, I want to express my good wishes to Minister Martin Cullen, and I'm sure that we will, in the course of time, have an opportunity of doing that more fully. But his announcement yesterday that he intends to retire from the government and from the Dáil has focused attention again on the whole question of jobs in government. I think one of the reasons, Taoiseach, that your government lacks the confidence of the public is that while thousands of people are losing their jobs, your government now appears to be preoccupied with protecting your own jobs and reshuffling the jobs in government and rotating the jobs in government. I'm told that in your present manifestation, the Fianna Fáil Green government is today 1,000 days in office. 1,000 days after a total of 13 years continuously now in office since Fianna Fáil was re-elected in 1997. And your record for that 1,000 days is staggering. 270 jobs per day lost for the 1,000 days. 270,000 jobs. That's what you've lost so far in employment. It's a record that will be very hard to best. I want to specifically ask you today, Taoiseach, about one measure which I believe and the Labour Party believes would help enormously to save jobs and to get people back to work. And that is a proposal that the Labour Party has on our agenda for this evening to change the law which would allow for the downward revision of commercial rents. As you know, and as I think every member of this House knows, one of the areas that has been most badly affected by job losses has been the retail sector. In every shopping street in the country, every shopping centre, retail businesses are pushed to the wall, trying to get costs down, trying to get custom through the door, trying to survive, trying to keep people in employment. And one of the big problems that they have is that many of them have been locked in to leases which were negotiated in much better times, much more promising times. Sometimes they were locked into those leases in circumstances where their arms were twisted by landlords or by property developers to sign up to leases with very, very high rents, and now they're told that those rents cannot be revised downwards. The proposal that the Labour Party has on our agenda for this evening would allow for the downward revision of those commercial rents. It is something that would be an enormous help to those retailers, would help to save jobs in those businesses, help perhaps some of the retailers to re-employ people and to get moving again. And all that is required, Taoiseach, is for your government to agree to accept that proposal here this evening. So I want to ask you now, will you accept the proposal from the Labour Party which will allow for the downward revision of commercial rents? It is one specific measure, it is one positive measure that would help to save jobs and to hopefully create additional jobs in the retail sector.
Gilmore.
Well, it's remarkable, Ceann Comhairle, that every time that a positive proposal is presented to the Taoiseach and to this government, which would be designed to protect jobs and to create jobs, the government always seems to have a reason why it can't be done. Our legal advice is that it is constitutionally possible to do it. Professor David Gwynne Morgan, Professor of Law at University College Cork, agrees with us. He says in a letter that he wrote to the paper last week, he says, it is reported that the Attorney General has advised that to extend this change to existing leases would be retrospective and therefore unconstitutional. And I'm quoting directly from him. He says, with respect, this view seems to me to be wrong. So there is legal opinion. There is legal opinion that says that yes, it is constitutionally possible to do it. you didn't seem to have any difficulty, you didn't seem to have any constitutional difficulty when you decided to set up NAMA. You didn't seem to have any constitutional difficulty when you decided to revise unilaterally the contracts of the employees of the state last year when you cut their pay. But there seems to be an entirely different. You suddenly wrap yourself in the Constitution when it comes to protecting the interests of landlords and some of these very property developers that have landed us in this difficulty in the first place. That's what your constitutional problem is about. Now, this is a positive measure, Taoiseach. I have a letter here from a constituent, a businesswoman in my own constituency, and she says, given the way some landlords are now being inflexible and seem happy enough to let good businesses sink while they swim. That summarises it in a nutshell. If you think that there is a constitutional problem with this, let us see what is the advice that you have got from the Attorney-General. Why don't you publish the advice? Let us all see it. I mean, what's the big secret? I mean, if you think there's a constitutional problem here, publish the Attorney-General's advice and let us see it. Our advice is that the proposal that the Labour Party is putting this evening is perfectly constitutional, it's perfectly possible to do it. It is something that would provide huge help to the retail sector, would help to protect jobs, and would help to ensure that there's an opportunity for people to get future employment in the retail sector. And I'm asking you, Taoiseach, instead of putting up obstacles and instead of telling us why you can't do it, join with us. Join with the other parties in this House doing something positive today. Send out some kind of a signal from this House that the government is concerned about jobs other than its own jobs, that you're concerned about the jobs of the people who are working in shops and businesses up and down this country who are at risk and who are worried about losing those jobs, that you're on their side and that you will agree to this proposal tonight from the Labour Party that would allow for downward revision of rents and that would keep good retail businesses in operation with the employment that belongs to them.